me and Errol handle this, and you just sit in the sideline, because we all know he be beating you up in sparring. You know what I mean? That's why you, you know what I mean?
Is that a fact, though? Is that well known?
Listen, I ain't gonna put out their business, but listen. Yeah, that's pretty much the most, the part where me and him start heating up, and then he saying I'm not fighting nobody and this and that, and I'm like, dude, we on two different levels, bruh. Congratulations, you became undisputed. I take my hats off to you. You worked tremendously hard to get to where you at, and I respect that. But the level that Charlo on and the level that Terence Crawford on is two different levels. Don't nobody ever be in his at his fights. It's night and day.
What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So what you heard is the voice of undefeated 3-division world champion, former junior welterweight undisputed world champion, currently the reigning WBO, World Boxing Organization welterweight world champion, who is widely considered by many to be the #1 best pound-for-pound fighter in the world, in Terence Bud Crawford. Terence Crawford has a record of 39 wins, no losses, no draws, 30 big wins by way of knockout. He is 35 years of age, 5'8", with a 74-inch arm reach. Terence Crawford is revealing that he knows and is privy to information that's stating that 3-time junior middleweight world champion, who is currently the undisputed junior middleweight world champion, superstar boxer, who is top 5 pound-for-pound best fighters in the world, in Jermell Iron Man Charlo, who is 35 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw, 19 wins by way of knockout. He is 33 years of age, 5'11" and a half, with a 73.5-inch arm reach. That Jermell Charlo is getting whooped, according to Terence Crawford, by his stablemate, close friend, and training partner in undefeated unified 3-belt WBA, WBC, IBF welterweight world champion superstar boxer, who is widely considered by many to be top 2, if not #1, definitely top 5 pound-for-pound best fighters in the world, in Earl the Truth Spence Jr. Earl Spence Jr. has a record of 28 wins, no loss, no draw, 22 big wins by way of knockout. He is 33 years of age, 5'9.5", with a 72-inch arm reach. With that said, Errol Spence and Terence Bud Crawford are going to face off in a mega super fight, undisputed, undefeated showdown, July 29th, Las Vegas, Nevada, T-Mobile Arena. They will be facing off against one another, and this is a super fight, okay? This is absolute super fight, and Terence Crawford has made it abundantly clear after Errol Spence, he has all plans to face off against Jermell Charlo, going to 154, and Terence Crawford reveals that he stated that Errol Spence has plans to eventually go to 154 and challenge Jermell Charlo. Terence Crawford and Jermell Charlo have been going back and forth via social media, interviews, so on and so forth, at one another, right? Because Jermell Charlo, he is trained by well-renowned 2-time Trainer of the Year, future Hall of Famer in Derrick James. Derrick James also trains Errol Spence Jr., okay? So it's known that Errol Spence and Jermell Charlo, they have been sparring. They are stable mates. They are friends, and they've been sparring, right? And many people speculate and have been saying that Errol Spence is getting the better of Jermell Charlo in these sparring sessions. So Terence Crawford takes it a step further and says that he's whipping on Jermell Charlo in sparring. That's why Jermell Charlo is salty at Terence Crawford, right? He said, "Don't be salty at me. You know, sit this one out. Sit on the sidelines. Let me and Errol Spence handle this. Let me handle Errol Spence for you, and then I'll come up and I'll handle you," right? This is what Terence Crawford had to say. So obviously Terence Crawford is doing many interviews, much promotion, because he has this mega fight coming up July 29th. So he's definitely going to be promoting this fight. Now, many people, Terence Crawford is very versatile. He's a smaller guy, started his career at 130, 135, became a world champion, 140 and 47, 3-division champion, and undisputed at 140, right? He's the reigning welterweight WBO champion, but he's a smaller guy. Jermell Charlo, I believe that Jermell Charlo is on the same skill set. Now, Terence Crawford, he stated that Jermell Charlo is not on their level. He stated that Jermell Charlo is a level below Terence Crawford and Errol Spence, and that's why Errol Spence is getting the best of him in these sparring sessions. And he said, "Let me handle Errol Spence and you sit this one out." Now, obviously, this all stemmed from Terence Crawford stated that he and Jermell Charlo have been cool, but Jermell Charlo was asked one day who he think will win between Terence Crawford and Errol Spence, and obviously Terence Crawford being somebody he is, they're not a close friend of his, right? But Errol Spence is a close friend of his, right? And so he says that Errol Spence is going to win by knockout, and Terence Crawford took offense to that. Terence Crawford stated, it's okay to say that, you feel like your friend and your stablemate is going to beat me. He said it's a whole nother thing when you start telling the world how he going to knock me out. I ain't fight nobody. I ain't ready. I'm too small. He said that's a whole nother thing. So Terence Crawford feels like Jermell Charlo has been diminishing his accomplishments and what he brings to the table, right? And so with that said, that sparked this rivalry between the two. Now, again, Terence Crawford says that he's not on their level. I think that Jermell Charlo is definitely on Terence Crawford, Errol Spence level. He just simply don't get the credit they deserve, right, that he deserves. And Terence Crawford, he said nobody comes to his fights, right? He's meaning celebrities. Nobody's at his fights. Nobody's showing up, big at his fights. Jermell Charlo, in my opinion, just don't get the credit because of his personality, how he's perceived outside the sport of boxing, right? Many writers and boxing pundits, they don't fancy Jermell Charlo's attitude, right? His approach, right? And which should not be taken into consideration, because what should be taken into consideration, the only thing should be taken into consideration is Jermell Charlo's, what he does in the ring, not what Jermell Charlo does outside the ring, how he is outside the ring, who he is outside the ring. That should not be what people judge Jermell Charlo off of. It should simply be based off of what Jermell Charlo does in the ring, how he performs inside the squared circle. And that's what gets overlooked. That's what gets dismissed, because, again, like I said, everybody looks at Jermell Charlo and they talk about, how they feel like Jermell Charlo is not a likable person outside the sport of boxing. And because of that, that's what ultimately gets Jermell Charlo not put on these pound-for-pound lists, not get acknowledged as one of the best fighters pound-for-pound in the world. That's ultimately what it boils down to, because people just look at Jermell Charlo and they judge him based off of his persona, his attitude, how they deem him, not approachable, not likable, so on and so forth. So that's ultimately what this boils down to. But as far as skill set and talent in the ring, Jermell Charlo is one of the best fighters in the world, right? He makes adjustments. He has 2 blemishes on his resume. He lost to Tony Harrison and he lost his WBC title. He came back, he knocked out Tony Harrison. He had a draw on his record when he faced off against Brian Castano for undisputed, and he came back and he brutally knocked out Brian Castano, dropping him twice and getting a knockout victory. So he rectified those 2 blemishes on his resume. He has the ability, you remember back in the days when he first started, Jermell Charlo, his identical twin brother who was an undefeated 2-division champion. Jermell Charlo is the reigning WBC middleweight world champion. Jermell Charlo was deemed to be the best out of the 2, right? He was the big puncher. He was the bigger of the 2, and he was deemed to be, the better of the 2. But then eventually Jermell Charlo, he left well-renowned Hall of Fame trainer Ronnie Shields. He got with Derrick James, and he changed his style. He was the pure boxer, okay? He was the boxer, and Jermell Charlo was the puncher. He was the thumper. He got with Derrick James, and he became the thumper, knocking out Tony Harrison in the rematch, knocking out Brian Castano in the rematch, right? So he made adjustments, okay? And he showed his versatility. He showed that he could box. He showed that he could box on the inside, on the outside. He could use his jab. He could be a thumper if he so chooses, right? So he showed you that he has all of the tools in the toolbox to be very, very versatile. At the end of the day, what happens with Jermell Charlo, again, like I said, and I can't say it enough, is that he gets labeled not likable, and that's what gets his skill set and what he does in the ring dismissed. There's no doubt Terence Crawford respects and understands and identifies Jermell Charlo's skill set. And whether Errol Spence gets the best of him in sparring or not, we will never know, because it's all going to be speculation unless there's just simply people there that are going to come out or there's recordings, right? And that's what we're not going to see. But in sparring, there's plenty of people. Paul Spadafara, I always say this. Paul Spadafara, we know is somebody that got the best of Floyd Mayweather in sparring. But when it came down to it, and if they was ever to fight under the lights, not too many people would be picking Paul Spadafara to beat Floyd Mayweather. They would be picking Floyd Mayweather. So there's a lot of sparring partners get the best of fighters, but it don't count under the lights. But it's interesting, it's entertaining to hear this. So it is what it is. But that's all I got for y'all, man. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue, Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. You haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon to get all the new notification. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. That's all I got for y'all, man. It's your boy Blue. I'm signing off. I'm gone. Peace.